America, home of the brave, land of the free, and playground to some of the dumbest people on the planet. Packed to the rafters with cretinous criminals, pea-brained policemen, disastrous drivers, and meat-headed morons. You're about to see some of the stupidest America has to offer. They may be big, but they sure ain't clever. This is America's Dumbest. Coming up, a cop tries out a new means of transport, a career change doesn't go too well for this bloke, and a feisty lawman bites off a little more than he can chew. There's an old adage that says it's only stupid if you get caught. There's an even older one that says you only get caught if you're stupid. This case seems to support the latter. The scam was a good idea. Their garage repaired crashed cars for insurance companies, but profit wasn't high enough. So they did a little damage control before the loss adjusters came round. A gentle battering with Thor's silver hammer. All sounds great, except that the insurance companies took photos of the cars before they got to the garage. So when they compared them, something was clearly amiss.
We don't crash them, we fix them. We don't crash them, we just fix them.
A bit of hidden camera work confirmed everything, and the bent body benders were quickly sent to prison. A really good plan undone by just one thing. It was really, really stupid. Bedford, Virginia, and this white pickup has been pulled over by the cops. Sensing trouble, this lawman has his wits about him. Unfortunately, the driver doesn't. He's left his wits at home with his trousers. Quick thinking by the cop meant, far from getting away, all the crim got was a gun at his head and an order to pull over. Down the station, he was told that all the cop wanted to do was to ask him to turn the music down. But seeing as you're here, will do you for drink driving and resisting arrest. I've been framed. Welcome to the part of the show where we watch the cops set a trap for the criminals and let them stumble brainlessly into it. We all have a few skeletons in our closets. We've all done the odd thing that we're not proud of, and plenty of husbands have gone to a strip club and been stupid enough to get caught. Most wives can be calmed with flowers and several months of washing up duties, but what if you're married to God? Yes, the man in your picture canoodling with strippers and handing over his hard-earned is a reverend. And some suspicious churchgoer has been following him around with a camera. The church tends not to be big on strippers, and him up there isn't known to be easily swayed by chocolates or washing up. In fact, he has been known at times to be vengeful. So what is to happen for this man of the cloth's foolish folly? Shall we expect floods, a plague perhaps, or maybe just a bit of pestilence? Well, maybe none of that, because if we're to believe what the good reverend said in his defense, then the man in the video is just his body double.
Hope it's not true.
But you saw the tape. I mean, it's pretty convincing from what I hear.
Well, I don't know. Everyone has a double, I guess.
Ah, well, that's all right then. Seriously, that's what he told his followers, and of course, they believed him. So the question is, who's worse, the fool or the fool that follows? And on a personal note, I don't think the good Rev has anything to be ashamed of. If God hadn't wanted strippers, he wouldn't have given us silicone, poles, or baby oil. Still to come, the Easter CCTV hunt is a bit much for this chap. This copper gives us a lesson in crowd control. And another cop gives us a lesson in cloud control. I've never worked in a jewellery store, but I've always understood the need to have a selective entry system for shops that have single, pocket-sized items worth several $1,000s. It's to keep shifty-looking people like this out, and it's a good job it's there because, they decided to let him in. Despite his shabby clothes and dodgy cap, just goes to show you can't judge a book by its cover. Or maybe you can, because there's his gun. So it's round 1 of the Featherweight Intellectual Championship to the clerk who didn't spot the danger signs. Round 2. You've always got to back the man with the gun in these circumstances. The end that goes bang is very dangerous indeed. Luckily for the hapless clerk, our thief doesn't know that. He seems to think the only use of a gun is to hit people with, and in the grapple, they crash to the ground. Back to show he's equally dim-witted, the would-be thief forgets why a gun is dangerous, and round 2 is his. Round 3, it's looking fairly even, but the clerk has a secret weapon, and here he comes. The gimp is normally chained up in the back, but seeing his master in danger, he wades in seemingly fearless, but more realistically ignorant of the fact that this is a genuinely dangerous situation. The noises you can hear are the gimp barking and the thief, now gunless and impotent, saying, "Open the door." The criminal's lack of understanding as to the balance of power is a knockout blow, and he's declared the champion. After all, he's outnumbered, has a man-beast attached to him, and a gun pointed at his face. Yet he still makes demands, truly breathtaking. With the sour taste of defeat all around him, and only the sweet love of the gimp to comfort him, the clerk resorts to some trash talk. Does no one in America know how to use a gun? Don't say "I'll shoot you" and then prod people with it. It makes you look really stupid, like you're not a man of your word. So the scene draws to a close with the gimp trying to eat the criminal whole. But the featherweight intellect champion is saved by the police. And they don't shoot anyone either. Boring. We've seen criminals do some dumb things. We've seen police do some dumb things. It's probably about time we saw some dumb policemen do some criminal things. Yes, the guy you can see making absolutely sure that the window is broken is an off-duty cop. Having broken in and made sure there were no sharp edges, he proceeded to take his time picking out the choice electronics and then leaving just before any of his chums turned up. Thing is though, Chief Inspector Doofus using your insider knowledge to get away in time is all well and good, but when you think you're being clever, you might want to remember that there are cameras there and the people you've worked with for years might just recognize you. Not a case of good cop, bad cop, more a case of dumb cop, worse criminal. You know all those redneck cops you see in the movies? The ones who seem out of their depth in almost any situation and call everybody boy? Well, here's the guy that inspired them.
I've got a report that you and another vehicle have been sparring out here, chucking stuff back and forth at one another.
This is a fairly straightforward stop. There have been reports that these two cars have been messing about on the freeway, and Roscoe P. Coltrane here wants to find out why.
All right, then. I ain't talking to you either.
His patience runs out pretty quickly, though, and he's being belligerent early
I don't know
on.
what's going on between these two cars. I'm getting all kinds of complaints. People chucking stuff back and forth at one another out of these two cars.
Now it's only 2 minutes later. He's thrown his not inconsiderable weight around constantly, and old Roscoe's gonna take a manageable situation and send it atomic.
Here you go. Get back in that car. Get in that car. Get in it. Get in it. Get in it. I can take a motherfucking car. Get in the car. Get in the car.
You see, in Roscoe's county, that being Giles County, Tennessee, boy, here when the law speaks and Roscoe is the law, you'd better listen.
Get in the car.
So when this youth makes the mistake of blocking his attempt to slam the door by putting his leg in the way, that's Roscoe's signal. With too many boys and other threats to count hanging in the air, the victims of this guy's power trip have had enough, and it turns out that these two small vehicles have approximately 350 occupants. Roscoe realizes that even though he is the law in these parts, he may be out of his depth and backs away. Threat hangs heavy in the air. It's time to call for backup.
Situation is under control, but it's subject to be out of hand.
Really, Roscoe? Now why would that be?
Better get him in the car. You better get in the car.
So, to turn a routine stop into a full-on riot, see the man called Roscoe. Hollywood owes him a lot. Still to come, this chasing copper demonstrates clouded judgment. This school bus driver shows no judgment at all. And a high IQ hillbilly picks a fight he can't win.
Get away from me! Hey!
Coming up, a can of beer gets no cheer for a bus driver. A cocky crim takes on more than he's bargained for.
Get away from me! Hey!
And prison proves no barrier to these crazy kids. Believe it or not, this is a pursuit, and the van in the distance is the target. You'd think then that our brave officer would actually pursue the vehicle, but no. You see, this policeman, let's call him Officer Bumpkin, is missing the part of the brain that allows depth perception. He sees the bad weather way off in the distance and decides to drive slower than your Aunt Agatha, just to be sure. A side effect of this pursuit technique, known in police circles as utterly useless, is that by simply driving at a reasonable speed, the suspect gets to vanish into thin, well, actually quite thick air. Excellent police work. Looking back on it, he had a good 5 or 10 minutes of chase before he hit the storm, and judging by the radio chatter whilst he's driving at 5 miles an hour through the dust, he knew it was coming. So you do have to wonder why the cop didn't do more to stop the truck before he hit the storm, and why he just gave up. The good old boys from the Oodle PD, where PD definitely does not stand for planning or determination. The good thing about sitting in a parked car in the middle of the day and looking very deliberately right to left and then once more very slowly is that no one will ever suspect a thing. This guy certainly doesn't seem to suspect that the guy with the camera pointed at him could possibly be filming him. After all, he's only drinking beer an hour before he drives the kids on the school bus. What is wrong with that? Drinking before driving kids, looking around, not seeing the film crew, making no effort to disguise the can. If the alcohol bumps into his only brain cell, he's in trouble. We've all been threatened by teachers. Back in my day, there were still some that even used the slipper, but this high school coach doesn't want to mess around with half measures like that. Suspecting that the pupil has stolen a pencil, yes, a pencil, the half-baked thug wants to exact revenge on a biblical scale. The other teachers watch his technique for a while before deciding that the child has had enough of a beating. Watch here as they seem to be peering into the grapple, seeing what kind of a hold he has on the cheeky imp. I'm all for teachers having a firm hand, but this guy is mental. Then again, as the saying goes, those who can do, those who can't teach, and those who can't teach beat the hell out of kids. Still to come, a lawyer and a lifer make sweet love through 3 inches of glass, and manners maketh man in this liquor store holdup. America's dumbest drivers. One of the sensibilities that most humans have developed is picking our battles with care. Some of the lesser primates, though, like deep south hillbillies, have never quite got it right. The cop here is just off camera, writing a ticket for the chap in the white SUV, but in the meantime his cruiser is blocking the parking lot of a Taco Bell drive-thru. And when another motorist shouts at him, he makes it very clear that he's not moving.
Get out of here and let's go on ticket. You'll go to jail for obstruction of justice?
It's not subtle. Apparently, though, our backwards friend just doesn't want to let it go, so when the officer has finished issuing the ticket he's on right now, he moves on to Billy Bob.
Yelling at me to move my car.
See if you can see where Billy Bob loses this battle.
Get in the car! Get in your car!
Yes, there you go. Walking aggressively towards a man who not only has the law on his side, but also a fairly large gun is never a good thing. But Billy Bob ignores the warnings, and in fairness, he's been given plenty, and from here on in, this is only going to end one way.
Get in the car! Get away from me! Hey! Taco Bell! You stop! Get out!
So, Billy Bob, lesson for next time. Only pick battles that you can win. And by that I mean play cards with the family pig, but don't take on people. You're just out of your depth.
Get on the ground! Get on the ground! I'm on the ground! You will not move!
We ordered this video from the back of a Sunday supplement because it offered hot prison action. We shall be complaining. The hot action that you can barely see here is from Phoenix, Arizona, and the guy having a smooch is convicted murderer Michael Sanders, and the woman he's kissing, why, of course, it's his lawyer. They've had a very close relationship ever since she did a terrible job of defending him in court. They don't stop at kissing, though. Here they're having sex. Unfortunately for Michael, though, his lover is a strong believer in safe sex, and her chosen contraception is to be in different rooms separated by 3-inch thick bulletproof glass. Some may say that's going overboard, but she's not going to have to explain to little Billy Bob why Daddy won't be home for Christmas again this year. So using excessive client-lawyer privilege, she takes down her briefs and he handles his own particulars. And whilst he's got nothing to lose, she may just have managed to give lawyers an even worse name than they've got already. To the discerning criminal, finding a shop assistant lacking the necessary intelligence to successfully peel a potato is like finding an open safe, and this guy has just lucked out. With the counter dimwit's brain occupied with the complexity of things like breathing in and out, our plucky crim breezes in, chatting on his mobile, and mentions in passing that he's robbing the shop and that the cashier should empty the register. Like any good dork, he does what he's told. After all, we wouldn't want the nasty man to, well, as far as I can tell, the biggest threat on offer is that he might stop being polite. Thankfully, uncomfortable impoliteness is avoided as our divvy does exactly what he's told. They have a brief chat about how breathing out is slightly easier than breathing in, and then with a quick handshake, the duel of the intellectuals is over, and our lucky treasure hunter is far the richer. That's the final contestant on today's Wheel of Dumbness. Let's see who won. We saw an ex-copper come a cropper on a store camera. There was a naughty reverend trying to get his end away. This guy tried to leap into action just at the wrong time. And there was a cop in a cruiser who got caught with his head in the clouds. But the lowest IQ we saw belonged to the hammer-wielding garage guys whose careful handiwork got them handed a long sentence. Badges all round, fellas, you are America's dumbest.